Hello. So this video is brought to you by Cardio Miracle. You've heard me talk about Cardio Miracle a lot. I love the product. Somebody mentioned a while ago, how's your daughter doing that had the jaw surgery? You know, where her lower jaw was out too far and her upper jaw was back too far. So they actually had to cut both. So she'd never been able to touch her teeth together, in a bite. It was like on top of each other, and her teeth wouldn't touch, other than a couple of teeth, really. And the problem with this is when you hit about the age 50, you have no more teeth. Everything gets loose. It destroys the gums. There's all kinds of health issues when we don't take care of our teeth, or their things are out of alignment. So quite a few miracle stories attached to this to find the right doctor, and I won't get into that aspect of it, but there's a very amazing doctor in Dallas that performs these surgeries, and they actually go up through, like the inside the lip, and they cut the upper jaw and pull it out. This is after wearing braces and doing some. It's quite an ordeal, but to get the right alignment. And then they take the lower jaw and cut it and bring it back. And then the teeth come together. And then they're not wired, but it's like you have braces and there's really thick rubber bands. It's quite a thing. And of course, a lot of bleeding, a lot of recovery. It's 6 weeks basically of not being able to have anything but liquid. And it's quite drastic, but very, very helpful if you're in a situation where your alignment's like that. So anyway, my daughter was religiously on Cardio Miracle, and the bleeding or the bruising, the internal bleeding, was very minimal. And there was swelling, to be totally honest, there was swelling, but the healing was awesome. Now, in all fairness, I never talked to the doctor about, hey, did her recovery go better than anybody else? It certainly, from what the doctor said and asked her, she was kind of afraid to ask the doctor, hey, am I better than anybody else? She's just kind of a shy person like that. But the recovery was great. He said that everything looks amazing. The healing's great. And she's now starting to eat a little bit and all that. He said the first thing you should eat, once I tell you to eat, is a hamburger. It has the right consistency, and I love hamburgers, so that's pretty cool. That was the first thing that she was told to eat. But I'm 66, going to be 67 in a few months. I try to be active and do a lot of things, and I swear by the stuff. It creates this nitric oxide that fills your blood with oxygen. It helps in all the aspects of healing, recovery, all those kind of things. So highly recommend it. I'll put a link in the first comment in the comment section. I'll pin it. It'll be the first comment of where you can check it out, get a discount if you're so interested. It's awesome. And John Hewlett, the founder, we've become good friends. In fact, John and his wife invited Sue and I to a Hale Center Theater presentation last week. It was so cool. John Hewlett's son, Jason Hewlett, is a performer, and he had several shows at the Hale Center Theater. It was a show about the music of Elton John and Billy Joel, and then some other really funny, good stuff. Very great entertainment, and just such a talented young man. And it was sponsored by Cardio Miracle. there's going to be a lot of things going on, and we're in discussions of maybe having a little cows reunion somewhere in Utah, where we might be getting together, and I'll give you some more details on that. Okay. Wow, the Middle East. You've all heard what's been going on. So they took out, I think it was the number 2 leader of Hamas, but that was in Lebanon, I believe. Maybe Syria. Get them all confused. And then they took out number 2 of Hezbollah in the northern area. And then they took out the main leader of Hamas right in Tehran. Now, we don't know, they're not claiming, Israel's not claiming responsibility, but this was such a targeted attack. It's, some theories are that there was a pre-planted bomb in that room that killed him and his bodyguard. And some say a guided handheld rocket that had to be, pretty close by, that targeted that room. So it's kind of up in the air. It looks like more like it was a pre-planted bomb that was detonated as they slept 2 hours after he was going to the inauguration of the new president of Iran, not the supreme leader, but he met the supreme leader, who's really the leader, right? Well, they've flown the flag of vengeance, Iran has, and so who knows what the response is going to be. I'm getting a little doubtful of the trip I was going to host. We're in contact with our representative in Israel and all that to see, but in October, November, the trip through Legacy Tours, I don't know at this point if that's going to actually be able to happen. The problem, I shouldn't say the problem. I would go in a heartbeat. If Israel said, hey, we're welcoming visitors, I would go. The problem is if there's unrest in the north, so the Golan Heights, the northern Galilee region, and if they prohibit going there to like Caesarea Philippi and those areas, for some people it's a once in a lifetime trip, and to not be able to go there would be a shame, because there's so much that happened in that area. And that's really the hotbed. We had the 12, the first reports were 14, I think it was 12 children killed on the soccer field there in the Golan Heights region of northern Israel last week, and then these retaliations. We have the Ezekiel wars, we call them Ezekiel 38 and 39, which is really kind of the catalyst for all these, in my opinion, of right prior to Christ's coming, where these nations are united and all against Israel. Erdogan, Turkey, he has been spewing some rhetoric that's very volatile and against Israel. So you have Lebanon, you have Syria, you have Turkey, and then you have Iran. And if Russia decides to align with Iran, which Russia's already in Syria, it just gets crazy. So this is where we're at. We try to pay close attention to what goes on in Israel. Now here in the United States, we have all of our crazy things going on politically. There's just this feeling of unrest. I'm amazed at many people who just don't seem to like life is just great. And if it is for you personally, awesome. But I can't, and look, I don't live in fear. I do not live in fear. I don't think we're meant to do that. We have faith in God, and He sits on the throne. He is in charge. This has been prophesied. We know that if we are on the right side, eternally we'll be fine. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to go through hardships. Food prices, food shortages, it's there. Basics, just basics, milk and eggs and butter and cheese and chicken and, things that are pretty basic. They're up to 70% up in price. Inflation is crazy, and the wages aren't accommodating that, right? The attempted assassination on President Trump, the more evidence you see, which is, have you noticed, it's like it almost didn't even happen. And it was only a couple of weeks ago. And now it's like there's so much other stuff going on, we don't even pay attention to that anymore. But very nefarious. The whole thing just stinks from so many different angles. It's hard to not say that this wasn't some kind of coordinated effort, because and it's always the same MO. A person with three names, a loner, that down on his luck or kind of weird or whatever, and he's the guy, and he can outsmart everybody with his drone. I mean, it's just to just say, well, gosh, shucks, darn, these things happen. It's crazy. No. I loved to see President Trump with the black media, and he was talking about Kamala Harris identifying as Asian, and now she's black, and now she's a black person. Now she's a black person. That's interesting to me. It's the same thing I see with Barack Obama. He's half white. Why? So if your mom is white or Caucasian or European, I don't know what, it's the politically correct, we'll just say white, and your father's black, but you're the first black president. It's just interesting to me. And now we have this with Kamala. She's all of a sudden she's just a black woman. That's crazy. Anyway, and here's the one thing that bugs me about Trump. Why buy into this kind of stuff and say, "Oh, I've done all this for the black population"? You've done things for the good of the country that elevates everybody. It's like the adage of when the tide rises, all the ships rise, right? In the harbor. When the tide comes in, they all come up. We shouldn't be doing this color thing or this race thing. It should just be, I wish he would just say, I'm not into the racial stuff. I'm into Americans. I'm into freedom. I'm into everybody benefiting from good leadership and good policies, and forget buying into this. But that's just my own. I kind of cringe is what I do when I hear him and others go, I've done this for this ethnic group and I've done this for this ethnic group. I just who cares about what all that is if we're, we are what we are. Okay. Little back work on the last video that I posted. Probably a little confusing, kind of not really meant to be, but these two young men that I appeared on their Zoom call were two young men that we served. I was their mission president, and we served together. Great elders, great missionaries, great young men. And we were just having a conversation. I didn't I didn't do a very good introduction, if I did any. I think I did it later on in the thing. We'd been talking a little while before the record button was hit, so that was part of the issue. But we're going to do these on a fairly regular basis. I thought it was good to have some younger people of what they're thinking, what they're going through. One's going to be starting law school. I'm not sure what the other one's doing right now, but they're, I thought it was a great conversation. I have a tendency to dominate, and I've got to stop that and let them talk more. But so just good, great young men, and I thought that what they brought up and what it was all unrehearsed. We just were chatting, right? So these are good young men. Very powerful, very strong testimonies of the restored gospel. So that's what that last video was about. Now, a couple of comments on Chief Mitiga, I think is how you say it. I received some good pushback on my view, and it was on that one particular video. So I don't really want to. I really don't know who this guy is. I don't. But it's so interesting if for some reason you're sold on what he's selling, and if somebody disagrees, man, bam. And I just totally disagree with his idea of comparing Palestinians in Israel to the plight of the Native American in the United States. It's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And that's just one thing. I didn't say discount everything else he said like I got accused. I was just saying that particular thing, in my opinion, he's so wrong. And on that particular video, I think it's called Zion Media, is the YouTube channel. I put a comment on there and I said, man, I'd love to discuss this with all three of you guys, because I feel like I have enough understanding and knowledge of the history of Israel and why it was called Palestine and all this nonsense, in my opinion. And here's another thing that I think is going on in Israel with their enemies, particularly Hamas, is they've been decimated, and they're just really not able to do much in retaliation. And a lot of and Iran, when they tried to do their attack after their president was killed in a helicopter accident, it was probably miraculous that none of those 300 plus missiles, actually hit any targets in Israel. The Iron Dome, other protection, intercepted these missiles. I think Israel's getting back there after what happened October 7th last year, where it was a disaster, what the IDF and what happened there. It was just inexcusable, in my opinion, to allow that to happen. Now, some feel like Israel did it on purpose so that they could start a war. I totally disagree with that. I think it was the right timing. It was a holiday. It was Shabbat, their Sabbath, just a lot of things, but it was lackadaisical for sure. But I don't think, as corrupt as all governments are, I don't think Israel would be in the position to sacrifice their own just to get a war going. I don't believe that. I think that is false, and it's promoted by those that hate Jews and hate Israel, in my opinion. But certainly you can't say that they didn't screw up big time. And I think they're making up for all this. And now we see that the Mossad, and we see the IDF and their intelligence and what they're able to do in taking out these key terrorists, man, it's awesome, in my opinion. Now, this brings up another topic. Let me just back up with the two guys, the two missionaries, former missionaries we served with. We were talking about seer stones. Wow. People get really riled up if you bring up seer stones or a seer stone in use with the translating the Book of Mormon by Joseph Smith or any other thing. And I know of Hannah Stoddard and their family, and Jonathan Neville and others who have written books and spent much time. The thing that I find interesting is both those individuals claim that this is causing a lot of apostasy in the church by having the idea that maybe a seer stone was used. I have never run across, and I've been involved in missionary work, reactivation, all kinds of stuff for so long. I have never run across anybody who questioned the restoration of the church or anything like that based on this concept of a seer stone. Now, I read Bushman's book of Rough Stone Rolling where it talked about that. I hated that book. I thought it was just horrible. It was like, let's point out every negative thing said about Joseph Smith, and then just kind of go, and then just a little tiny line, but none of it can be proven, kind of thing. It's just like, why'd you spend 2/3 of the book on that kind of stuff? I'll just rumors and this person quoting this person and the original person, probably, Fawn Brody or whatever. It was all nonsense. But to spend that much time saying all these things about Joseph that weren't proven, to me was really a mistake in that book. But it does seem like there was pretty good evidence that Joseph Smith had and used a seer stone. Now, whether he used it for the translation or not, I don't know. But why would that really affect someone's testimony if that didn't happen or if it did happen? Two stones in the rims of a bow, that's pretty crazy and pretty awesome. I love either way. But to say that that's going to affect someone's testimony, we if you go on the church website, the President Nelson just a couple of years ago did a video, maybe 3 years ago now. It's a short video. You can look it up on the church website where he demonstrates the stone in the hat and says this is how, it was. This is how Joseph Smith could have translated the Book of Mormon. So. Are you saying President Nelson is leading people astray? So people like Jonathan Neville and Hannah Stoddard, if they're so focused on this that it didn't happen, then what they're saying is the prophet or the President Nelson got duped. And if that's what you're saying, then say it. In my opinion, but, he got duped by professors and church historians and, all the other stuff. Personally, I have seen, dogs barking, I have seen, I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. But, in Scripture, stones are used for so many different things all the time. So I have no issue with it. And personally, I like stones. I like them. And so that I don't worship them. I don't think that they're God or anything like that. But I feel like God created them and they obey and they do. And so I have no issue with it. But so that was back to that one. Just to finish up on Chief Mitiga, I think that's how you say his name. I have nothing against him. I just found that particular issue about him comparing his people to the Palestinians is ridiculous. I would love to debate him on that, or at least have a discussion on that at some point. Let's see. I think that's all for this video. Now, the fact that we have disagreements and whatnot, I try to keep those up, but occasionally some of the comments get a little bit too spicy, and I get engaged because that's my nature, and I might leave them up for a few days, and then I sometimes will take a couple of those down. And the reason is in the heat of the moment, it's kind of fun to have them. It's kind of, I think her name's Terry Clark, a country singer back in the 90s. I think she was, maybe early 2000s, but she sang a song, I Just Want to Be Mad for a While. That's kind of me. Sometimes I just like to get fired up, and so I'll do a little back and forth. But then after a couple of days, I look at it and go, oh, that's kind of stupid. Now this gets into the last thing I want to talk about, and that's vengeance. Vengeance. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, right? We've all heard that. But let's also, and with what's going on with Israel and all the proxies of Iran and all the people that hate Israel, all the protesters, vengeance is an interesting thing. It's something that probably affects all of us, where if we've had something done wrong to us or to someone that we love, there's just this idea of wanting to get even, right? And there's so many scriptures. It's easy to do a Google search and look up all the scriptures that have to do with vengeance, and most of them say it's not your place to do that. It's not your place. Now, there are occasional times when the Lord commands a people to do the vengeance. There's also times when the Lord uses the wicked to punish the wicked. Okay? So the Lord can work through people to do his vengeance. It's not just his act alone. So we have to be careful on that to make it a blanket statement that there's never going to be vengeance. There is, but it has to be God's will that there's revenge or vengeance. But typically, what happens when we are wronged, we might want vengeance, but we usually don't act on it. And it's fun to be mad for a while and kind of marinate in it. And hopefully after time, you develop a point of either forgiveness or just letting it go. And that's where I think we could really, when I say we, I mean me, I could really benefit from is because forgiveness is we could spend a whole nother video on forgiveness, but letting it go or not letting it possess you and become an obsession is really, I think, what we do with vengeance for the most part. But quite often, as a people or a group, the Lord will call upon vengeance if it's done against a people, and things will happen. So we can look at vengeance in a lot of different ways, but it has to be God's will. And individually, we're asked to turn the other cheek. We're asked to do a lot of things by Jesus, and so we do it. Now, I still can't find anywhere where it doesn't say that we shouldn't call out wickedness. That's not vengeance. It's just pointing out wickedness. And so on this channel, we'll continue to do that. Whether it's politically correct, whether it's woke or not, we're going to call it out and say, according to Scripture, this is wickedness. So we'll continue to do that on this channel. And that in no way, in my opinion, is a vengeful thing. It's just pointing out the obvious. And it's not, hopefully not like a personal attack, but more on the teaching or the thought or the plan of the adversary, and it's just pointing it out. So we'll do that on this channel a lot. Okay, that's it for this. I just am so grateful for this platform. It helps. It's my therapy. We'll be getting into some other things about the Watcher community, getting together. We'll have some information on that. And as soon as I can find out anything on Israel and the trip this fall that some of you had signed up for, I'll say it here. But the travel company, Legacy Tours, they'll probably reach out as well. So anyway, God bless. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.